You'd be surprised how much pretending goes into content creation. I should know. I spend 10 hours a day slicing up someone else's personality for public consumption. Every joke is timed, every pause is calculated, and every spontaneous moment has been rehearsed at least twice. The someone else in this case is Liam Grady. Liam's a YouTuber, one of the big ones. Built his following off reaction videos and lifestyle vlogs, the kind of guy who gets sent free energy drinks and is constantly, accidentally shirtless in thumbnails. His face is on every gay Twitter thread captioned, "He's not gay, but," and I'm the guy behind the curtain, his editor, roommate, and best friend. Also the only person who knows the real reason Liam doesn't date girls, even though his fans are convinced he's in a secret relationship with every woman who appears in his videos for more than 12 seconds. Me, I'm gay. Out since high school, not loud about it, but not hiding either. Liam? Let's just say we both benefit from the illusion. We met in college, mutual friends, bad beer, a shared sense of humor. He was one of those guys who was too good looking for his own good, but somehow didn't seem to realize it. We started a podcast for fun, and it snowballed into a YouTube channel that actually took off. Now he's got 1.7 million subscribers, a management deal, and a fake flirtationship with a girl from TikTok who lives in LA and calls herself his content crush. And I'm still here, cutting footage in my bedroom, syncing B-roll to pop music, and pretending I don't notice the way Liam looks at me when he thinks I'm not paying attention. Last week, he posted a reacting to my old tweets video. It was dumb, low-effort stuff, but his fans ate it up. Halfway through, he pulled up one that read, "No homo, but I'd let Ryan Reynolds ruin my life." "Liam," I said from behind the camera, trying not to laugh, "you literally tweeted that at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday." He winked. I was in my feels. Ryan Reynolds brings out things in a man. Comments lit up with rainbow flags and laughing emojis. His fans love that shit, joking about being gay while somehow still reinforcing that he's not. I cut the clip to make it funnier, played it up with zoom-ins and sound effects. I always know which parts to highlight. That night, we were eating Thai on the couch. I was balancing my laptop on my knees, previewing the final cut. "You really don't care if people think you're gay?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He shrugged, eyes still on his phone. "It's part of the game, right?" Gives the fangirl something to freak out over. "Yeah," I said. "Right. But here's the thing, sometimes it doesn't feel like a game. Sometimes he pauses when we brush shoulders in the kitchen. Sometimes he sits a little too close during editing sessions and doesn't move when our knees touch. Sometimes he gets quiet after a long day of filming and just stares at me like he's trying to figure something out. And sometimes, like earlier this week, he says stuff that doesn't feel entirely like a joke. We were shooting a Q&A for Patreon. I was off camera, feeding him fan-submitted questions. "Ever kissed a guy?" I read aloud. He smirked at the lens. "Wouldn't you like to know?" I rolled my eyes. "That's not an answer." Liam leaned back in his chair, still smiling. "Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. Maybe my editor knows." I froze. My hand hovered over the laptop. "What?" He didn't look at me, just stared at the camera and said, "Next question." Later that night, I cut that part out of the video. It didn't fit the tone. It was too loaded, too weird, too something, but I haven't stopped thinking about it since. The weird thing about editing someone else's face every day is that you start to memorize their expressions better than your own. I know exactly how Liam's mouth pulls just slightly to the left before he says something dumb. I know when he's forcing a laugh versus when he's genuinely amused. I even know the exact timestamp in his vlogs, where his smile falters just a hair too early, like he forgot for a second that the camera's still rolling. It's those moments I've been paying attention to more lately, not because I'm some emotionally attuned psychic editor, but because I think something's shifting between us. And I don't know if he knows it, or if I'm just going insane. Take last Saturday, for example. We'd spent the afternoon filming some chaotic 24 hours as each other challenge, because apparently identity swapping for a day is still good content. I wore his signature beanie and called everyone dude in a voice that even I'll admit was insulting. He walked around wearing my favorite hoodie and made fake editing noises like cut, zoom, buffering. His audience ate it up. After we wrapped, I figured he'd want some space. He'd been in full extrovert mode all day, which usually burns him out by dinner. But instead, he followed me back to my room, flopped onto my bed without asking, and said, "You should do more on camera." I looked up from my hard drive. "Why? You're funny," he said. "People like you." "I'm only funny because you give me garbage footage to work with." He laughed. "True, but still, you're hot in that deadpan, doesn't want to be here kind of way." I blinked at him. "That's not a thing." "It is," he said. "It's very hot editor energy. Gay TikTok would lose their minds." There it was again. That line between joke and truth, blurred just enough to make me question if I was imagining things. I tried to play it cool. "You stalking gay TikTok now?" He shrugged. "It shows up sometimes. It's not like I ask for it." "You watch it long enough for the algorithm to keep giving it to you," I said. He didn't answer, just stared up at the ceiling, arms behind his head. The silence stretched longer than it should have. Finally, I asked, "Why do you care if people like me?" He turned his head to look at me. His expression was unreadable. "Because you're important to me." I felt my throat tighten. I wanted to say something snarky, something to break the tension. But nothing came out. "Liam," he sat up before I could finish. "Anyway, you hungry?" I was thinking pizza. And just like that, he was gone. Back into the hallway. Back into the safety of the everyday. That's Liam in a nutshell. He dances right up to the line, towing it with these loaded glances and half-truths, and then bolts before things get real. It's like he knows there's something here, something between us, but he's scared to let it breathe for too long. I don't know when it started. Maybe it was during the pandemic, when we moved in together to make filming easier. Maybe it was when he drunkenly told me one night, "I don't think I could do this without you," then passed out on my shoulder before I could ask what this meant. Or maybe it's been happening in slow increments over years, and I'm only just noticing because I finally let myself hope. The problem is, we live inside a bubble we've both built. One where we film clickbait titles and fake flirty thumbnails with women we don't care about. Where we joke about kissing each other but never actually go there. Where we pretend that we're just two straight guys doing guy things, even though one of us absolutely isn't and the other might not be either. And I'm tired of pretending. 2 nights ago, we went live on Twitch to stream a collab with another creator. It was supposed to be chill, games, banter, some Q&A with the chat. At one point, someone donated $5 with a comment that read, "When are you two just going to admit you're dating already?" Liam laughed. "Please, he's not even my type." I managed a weak chuckle. "Yeah, I'm too good looking." The chat blew up with laughing emojis and heart spam, and we moved on. But the second the stream ended, Liam stayed quiet. He just stared at the blank OBS window for a long time, his face strangely blank. "You okay?" I asked. He rubbed his jaw. "Yeah, just tired." That night, he didn't come out of his room. No usual post-stream beers, no casual midnight editing review, just silence. And me, lying awake in my bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying that comment over and over. "When are you two just going to admit you're dating already?" Funny how strangers on the internet sometimes see things clearer than the people living it. I didn't see Liam all day after the stream. That wasn't like him. Usually, even on his off days, he'd drift into the living room to grab a drink or flop across my bed just to complain about his algorithm stats. But not this time. His door stayed shut. No Spotify echoing from his speakers. No bad impressions of movie trailers yelled from the hallway. Just silence. By the time it hit 10 p.m., I gave up pretending I wasn't worried and knocked on his door. "Liam?" A long pause. Then, "Yeah? You good?" Another pause. "Just editing." I hesitated. "You want company?" He didn't say anything for a second, but then I heard the lock click. I took that as a yes. Liam's room was dim, lit only by the glow of his monitor. His editing software was open, but nothing was playing. The timeline was frozen halfway through a cut of his latest vlog. He was sitting in his gaming chair, hoodie up, one leg tucked underneath him. "I thought I was the editor," I joked lightly. He cracked a smile but didn't look away from the screen. "Trying to learn. Just in case you get sick of me." I frowned. "Where's this coming from?" He leaned back and finally looked at me. His eyes were tired. "That comment yesterday. The dating one. It kind of stuck with me." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Me too." We both let that hang in the air. "I didn't mean to be weird about it," he added quickly. "It's just, I don't want people to think I'm faking who I am." I leaned against his desk. "And who are you?" He glanced away. "I don't know. That's the problem." I let that sink in. For a long time, I assumed Liam had it all figured out. He had the looks, the charm, the success, and the freedom to joke about anything because everyone just assumed they knew the truth, that he was straight, just open-minded. But now, sitting in his room, watching him avoid my eyes, I realized something. He was scared, not of being found out, but of finding out something about himself he couldn't laugh off. "You don't have to decide tonight," I said gently. He looked up again. "Yeah, but it feels like everyone else already has." I nodded. "I get it." He searched my face. "How did you know?" "That I was gay?" "Yeah," I thought back. It wasn't one moment. It was just, when I was with a guy, everything clicked. I wasn't confused. I wasn't pretending. I felt like myself. Liam's eyes softened. "That must be nice." It wasn't at first. It was messy and scary. But it's better now. He exhaled slowly. "Sometimes I think about what it would be like to stop pretending." I didn't move. "With me?" His throat bobbed as he swallowed. "Yeah." I didn't say anything. Just walked over, sat on the edge of his bed, and waited. After a minute, he stood up, walked toward me, and sat beside me, close enough that our knees touched. He stared at the floor. "You've always been real with me," he said quietly. "So have you." He turned his head slightly. "Then can I ask you something and not have you laugh or freak out?" I nodded. He hesitated. "Do you ever think about what it would be like if we just stopped pretending?" I looked at him, not the Liam on camera, not the one with the million subscribers and the fake girlfriends, just him, raw and honest for the first time in a long time. "Yeah," I said, "all the time." His breath hitched, and I watched his fingers clench into the fabric of his sweatpants. "I'm scared," he admitted. "I know, but I think I want to try." I didn't ask what try meant. I didn't need to, because the second I reached out and touched his hand, he didn't pull away. He didn't make a joke. He didn't flinch. He just let me hold it. And in that quiet moment, no cameras, no stream, no audience, something shifted between us, something real. The next morning, it was like nothing happened. Not in a bad way, just quieter, calmer. Liam made us both coffee without saying a word. He handed me my mug and sat down across from me at the kitchen table, his hoodie sleeves pushed up, his hair a mess. He looked like he'd barely slept, but somehow more at ease than usual, like something heavy had been taken off his chest and replaced with a question mark. We didn't talk about the hand-holding, or what it meant, or what it didn't. We just existed, and weirdly, that felt okay. I went back to my room after breakfast to finish editing a brand deal video he'd shot the week before, some men's grooming product. It was the usual thing, too many takes, forced enthusiasm, a couple of flirty lines aimed at the imaginary camera girlfriend. I'd cut 1,000 videos like it, but this one felt different now, like I was watching him perform through a filter I couldn't ignore anymore. Liam wasn't being fake, he was just doing what he thought he had to do. That used to be enough for me. Now it wasn't. Halfway through the edit, he knocked on my door. "Got a sec?" "Always." He stepped in, hands shoved into the pockets of his sweatpants. "I got a DM this morning." I raised an eyebrow. "That's not unusual." "No, I mean, from someone I used to know. A guy the first went to high school with. He came out last year." He paused, then added, "He asked if I was gay." I froze. What did you say? He leaned against the doorframe. I said no. Because you're not? Because I don't know. I let out a slow breath. Liam, I'm not trying to string you along, he said quickly. I feel something when I'm around you. I don't know what to call it. And I know I've joked about it before, but last night wasn't a joke. I stood up, closing the laptop. I know it wasn't. He looked relieved, but still tense. You make me feel safe, you know? Like I can breathe around you. I took a step closer. You don't have to label anything. Not for me. But if this is going to be a thing, whatever this is, we should talk about what it means. He nodded almost too quickly. Okay, yeah, let's talk. So we did. We talked for hours, sitting on my bed, knees bumping, the laptop forgotten, about how long we'd both been feeling something, about how hard it was to keep pretending, for the audience, for our friends, even for ourselves. He admitted he'd sometimes stay up watching queer YouTubers talk about coming out, but always clicked away before finishing the video. Said he'd scroll through Twitter and get scared when someone tagged us in a fan edit that looked too convincing. That he'd imagined kissing me more times than he could count, but always convinced himself it was a passing thought. I just thought it was proximity, he said. You know, like I'm close to you, we work together, we live together. Of course I'd be drawn to you. But the more I tried to push it down, the worse it got. You don't have to justify wanting someone, I said gently. His eyes met mine. Do you still want me? Yeah, I said. I do. The air between us tightened. Not in a bad way, just charged. Electric. Heavy with every almost that had passed between us. He leaned forward slowly, eyes on mine, giving me space to stop him. I didn't. His lips brushed mine like a question. Soft, tentative, scared. I answered by kissing him back, firmer this time. His hand found my jaw, fingers curling there, grounding him. It wasn't a long kiss. It didn't need to be. When we pulled back, we were both breathing like we'd just sprinted across a finish line. That was real, he said, like he still didn't believe it. Yeah, I replied, smiling. That was very real. He let out a shaky laugh, then buried his face in my shoulder. What the hell are we gonna do now? I wrapped my arms around him. Whatever we want. We didn't talk about it on camera. Not right away. There was something too fragile about it all, like saying it out loud might pop the bubble we were floating in. So we kept it between us. And, in a weird way, that made it feel even more real. At night, he'd climb into my bed and pretend it was because my mattress was way better, even though we both knew that was a lie. In the mornings, he'd press his knee into mine under the kitchen table while sipping coffee and scrolling his phone like nothing was different. But everything was. It wasn't like we were sneaking around. Not really. There was nothing to sneak. Just quiet moments. His hand on my back when no one else was watching, the way he lingered in doorways, the looks that lasted a little too long. And then came the sponsorship shoot. His management had set it up with a big lifestyle brand. Clean-cut, squeaky image, lots of smiling in activewear and pretending to care about protein powder. The brief was annoyingly straight, market-tested to hell, full of heteronormative, relatable guy talking points. They even suggested a model to co-star in the video, a gorgeous girl named Aria, with 500K followers and an entire Instagram dedicated to skincare and posing next to plants. Liam tried to play it cool when he read the email. Aria seems cool, he said casually. Yeah, I muttered, scrolling past her photos. She's basically a Pinterest board with legs, he chuckled. But it didn't sound real. They want us to flirt a little on camera. Nothing major, just banter. I looked at him. You okay with that? He hesitated. It's just work. And I believed him, until we got to the shoot. I stood behind the monitor as the production crew adjusted lights, and Aria chatted with Liam between takes, touching his arm when she laughed, tilting her head just a bit too perfectly. He smiled back, like he always does, charming and easy. But every now and then, his eyes would flick over to me, just for a second, like he needed to remember I was there. After the third take, the director called for a break, and Liam slipped away from the set. I followed him without thinking. He found a quiet hallway behind the studio, leaned against the wall, and exhaled like he'd been holding his breath the whole time. I didn't say anything at first. Then, "You look like you're about to pass out." He laughed, short and breathy. "I hate this." "The shoot?" "The pretending," I nodded. "You're good at it, though." "I know," he said bitterly. "That's the worst part." He looked at me, eyes tired. "It's like I've spent so long trying to build this perfect image for the internet, and now every time I smile for the camera, I feel like I'm lying." "You're not lying," I said. "You're just choosing what to share." He didn't answer. "You don't owe anyone the whole story, Liam, not until you're ready." He let his head fall back against the wall. "What if I never feel ready?" "Then we keep doing this," I said, stepping closer. "The quiet version. Just us. No cameras." He closed his eyes for a second. "That sounds nice." "It is nice," I said. "You don't have to be a YouTuber when you're with me." He cracked a small smile. "Then what am I?" "My friend. My something." His eyes opened, soft and unreadable. "Something?" I reached out, brushed his hand with mine. "Something good." He took my hand in his, and for a second, we just stood there in that hallway. The sound of distant laughter and light stands being moved, echoing faintly down the hall. "Do you think people would care?" he asked quietly. "If they knew?" "Some might," I said, "but the ones who matter, they'd be happy for you. For us." He nodded slowly. "I don't know if I'm ready to put it in a vlog. I'm not asking you to." "But someday," he said, "I think I will be." "Good," I said. "Because when that day comes, I want to be in it." The next few weeks passed in a blur. We didn't label anything, didn't make any big declarations, or post cryptic tweets for his fan base to dissect. But things between us shifted, undeniably. And privately, we stopped pretending. Liam still filmed his usual stuff: reaction vids, daily vlogs, challenges with his friends. But there were subtle changes. He didn't flirt on camera as much. He stopped joking about smashing every female guest. And he started including me a little more, not just as the editor behind the scenes, but in the actual videos. At first it was small. A passing cameo while I walked through the background, or him yelling off screen, "Hey, can you cut this part where I sound like an idiot?" But then he started pulling me in on purpose. "Yo, come here," he said one afternoon while filming a Q&A. "People keep asking who edits my stuff." I was halfway through a sandwich. So come say hi. Don't be weird." "I am weird," I said, but walked over anyway. He turned the camera slightly toward me. "This is my editor and roommate and part-time bully." I flipped him off and went back to my sandwich. His fans lost their minds in the comments. The more he included me, the more people noticed. And the more they noticed, the more theories started popping up. Reddit threads, TikTok ship edits, fans compiling timestamps of every time we looked at each other too long. It got to a point where even his management sent a concerned email. "There's speculation online about your relationship with your editor. You may want to address it or shift the content strategy to avoid confusion." Liam read the email out loud, standing in the kitchen while I stirred ramen. "Avoid confusion," he repeated, scoffing. "Yeah, because God forbid two guys make eye contact." I didn't respond, I just kept stirring. Then he said, more quietly, "Do you think it's getting to be too much?" I turned. "What do you mean?" "This," he said, gesturing between us. "The quiet version. Hiding it. It's like every time I try to just be normal around you, someone clips it and puts a slow song over it." I smiled. "You're that charming." He rolled his eyes, but he was smiling too. Then, more seriously, "I just don't want to make you feel like I'm ashamed." I put the spoon down and walked over to him. "You're not." "But it looks like I am." I took a breath. "We're not hiding, Liam. We're just figuring it out. And that's okay." He looked at me, something unspoken behind his eyes. "Yeah, but maybe I don't want to figure it out in secret anymore." I blinked. "Are you saying I want to post something, he said, cutting me off. Not like a coming out video or whatever, just something real. No jokes, no clickbait, just me and you. I felt my chest tighten. You sure? He nodded. I've been pretending for so long, I forgot what it feels like to just be honest. I don't care if it's messy, I just want it to be real. I studied his face. There was fear in his expression, yeah, but also resolve. He was done running from it. So we did it. That weekend, we filmed a vlog. Not one of the loud, fast-paced, meme-filled ones. Just a quiet video of us hanging out, making coffee, talking about editing, laughing, sitting on the couch, being us. No titles like roommate tag or he said what. Just a chill day with my favorite person. He uploaded it on a Sunday night. Within minutes, the comments started flooding in. The way they look at each other. This isn't even subtle anymore, Lemao. You don't have to say it, we see it. Protect them at all costs. Liam sat beside me on the couch, refreshing the page every few seconds, scrolling silently. Finally, he looked over at me. They're not mad. No, I said. They love you. Us. He nodded slowly, eyes glassy. I didn't think it'd feel like this. Like what? Free. Liam didn't say the word boyfriend for a while. It wasn't out of fear. Not exactly. It was more like he was waiting for the label to grow into something that fit, something he could wear comfortably in public without feeling like a fraud. I didn't rush him. We had the luxury of time and privacy. Most people online thought we were dating anyway. The comments just went from "are they" to "they are." And honestly, that kind of ambiguity worked for us. The fans had already decided. But for Liam, saying it out loud would mean letting go of the version of himself he'd been selling for years. Still, the shift was happening. One night, we went out to this low-key rooftop bar with a few YouTube friends. It was chill. Just drinks, city lights, and the kind of soft music that makes you lean in close to talk. Nobody there was weird about us. If anything, they treated it like old news. Later, while we were waiting for our Uber, Liam leaned against the railing, sipping the last of his beer. The wind tugged at his hoodie, and his hair kept falling into his eyes. You ever think we should have done this sooner? He asked. I turned to him. What date? No. Just stop pretending. I shrugged. Maybe. But I think we needed the pretending to figure out what was real. He looked over at me, something gentle behind his eyes. This is real. Yeah, I said. It is. The ride home was quiet. His hand found mine on the seat between us, fingers tangling easily, like they belonged there. And when we got home, he didn't bother with excuses or small talk. Just followed me into my room, curled up under my blanket, and buried his face in my chest like he always did when the world got too loud. In the morning, he kissed me on the shoulder and said, "Good morning, boyfriend." It was casual, natural, like he'd been waiting for the moment to land in his mouth without fanfare. I rolled over, met his sleepy grin, and said, "Hey, you said it." He rubbed his eyes. Yeah, I think I'm going to start saying it more. He did. That same week, we filmed a new video. A sit-down Q&A, just the two of us. No edits, no stunts, just talking. The title was simple, Let's Be Honest. It wasn't a coming out video. Not in the traditional sense. We didn't make a thumbnail with rainbow flags or cry into the camera. We just answered questions. Honestly. One of them was, "Are you two dating?" Liam looked at me, then looked back at the camera. "Yeah," he said. "We are." That was it. No drama. No performance. The clip went viral. People reposted it with captions like, "Finally," and "Love wins again." His mentions were a mess for 2 days. Some supportive, some less so. A few sponsors ghosted him. But most doubled down with love and emojis and promises to, quote, stand with him always. His subscriber count didn't drop. In fact, It climbed. But more importantly, he was different after that. Lighter, looser, like he'd been holding his breath for years and finally remembered how to exhale. That night, I found him on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through the comments. He looked up when I came in and said, "I don't think I realized how much I needed this. To come out? To stop hiding, to let people love the real version of me." I sat down beside him. "They do." He leaned his head on my shoulder. "You do. Always." He shifted to look at me. "Do you think this changes us?" "No," I said. "It just makes us visible." He smiled at that. And maybe that's what the whole thing was about. Not changing, not reinventing, not labeling, just showing up. Together, as we are. The next morning, I woke up to find he'd posted a new short on his channel. It was just a selfie video of us, barely edited. He was lying in bed, my arm around him, both of us blinking into the camera. The caption? "I'm still me, just happier." Coming out online didn't end with one video. It kept unfolding in little moments. Bits of honesty Liam let slip in his content, or jokes that carried real weight now. Sometimes he'd casually mention my boyfriend in a vlog, like it was no big deal. Other times, we'd be side by side on camera, and he'd glance over at me mid-sentence, smirk and say, "He hates when I do this," before kissing my cheek. And every time he did, the comment section would light up. Their goals. Finally, some real love on this app. This is why we watch. Not everyone was supportive. Some followers unsubscribed. A few comments turned nasty. But Liam didn't flinch. He didn't go on some defensive rant or start filtering his content to please the haters. He just kept showing up. Kept being himself. Kept being with me. The biggest shift wasn't online, though. It was in our day-to-day. Everything that used to feel cautious now felt comfortable. There was no more tension in the pauses, no more second-guessing every glance or word. We weren't pretending anymore. Not on camera, not in the editing room, not on the couch watching anime and arguing about whose turn it was to do the dishes. We were just us. One night, a few months after it all came out, Liam surprised me with a weekend trip. Nothing fancy, just a little Airbnb by the coast, quiet and out of the way. We left our phones off for most of it, cooked badly, slept in late, walked the shoreline, talked about nothing. On the second night, we sat on the porch wrapped in one blanket, a bottle of wine between us, the ocean humming in the distance. He nudged my foot. "You know what I've been thinking about? If it's how much you love me, I've already heard the speech." He laughed, then looked out at the dark waves. "I used to think the only way to be successful was to give people what they wanted. I didn't say anything, just waited. But now I think the best thing I ever did was stop pretending to be someone else." I nodded slowly. "You stopped being their idea of you." He looked at me and started being my idea of me. He reached for my hand. "I know I can't control what people say or think, but this," he lifted our joined hands, "this is the only thing that's felt right the entire time." My throat tightened a little. "It's always been real." He leaned in, kissed me softly. "You're the best part of all of this." It was quiet for a long time after that. Just us. The blanket, the wind, and the waves. And maybe that's how I'll always remember it. Not the views or the numbers or the drama, but this moment. The version of us that didn't need to be edited or explained. Just two guys who found something real in a world that thrives on filters. Just two boys in love,